You've been doing everything right. You open the account, you set up the automatic transfers, you watched the balance go in every single month, and then you checked it. A year later, maybe two, and it looked almost exactly the same. Not life-changing, just a little bigger. Barely. That quiet moment where you thought, is this even working? That moment has a name. And once you understand what it actually is, you'll never look at your account the same way again. Because that's exactly when most people quietly stop. My name is Ricky, and I spend way too much time thinking about how compounding actually works in real life. If you're someone who's been investing but still feels like nothing is moving, hit that subscribe button. This one is going to shift something. Here's what nobody tells you when you start investing. You put in $200, $300 a month. You're proud of yourself. Most people never even get this far. And then a year goes by, you've put in $2,400, your account is showing $2,600. You made $200. $200. You could have made that picking up one extra shift at work. And your brain, which is wired to connect effort to reward, quietly files that under not worth it. The people who build wealth will tell you, just be patient. They're right, but they never explain why patience is so hard in the early years. They never tell you the math is literally designed to feel invisible at first. That $200 isn't the story. It's just the opening sentence. But most people close the book in chapter 1. Here's what actually bothers me about how compounding gets taught. People think it's about finding the right return percentage. That's missing the whole point. Compounding is about time talking to money in a language your brain doesn't naturally speak. I'll be honest, I almost stopped in year 2. The balance barely moved, and I convinced myself something was wrong. Nothing was wrong. I just didn't understand what was actually happening yet. Compounding doesn't reward you for the years you put in. It rewards you for the years still ahead of you. Let me give you a picture for that. Imagine you plant a tree. After 1 year, it's barely a foot tall. But a tree doesn't grow linearly. The trunk, the root system, the canopy, it's all being built internally before anything becomes visible outside. The growth you can't see is more important than the growth you can see. That's compounding in the early years, building the root system. The people who quit never got to watch the canopy spread. This specific period, where compounding is working at full speed but producing almost nothing visible, has a name. I call it the invisible years. Not a sign that it isn't working. The invisible years are the unavoidable early chapter of every wealth-building story ever told. You just don't hear about them because people only talk about the ending. Let's make this real with actual numbers. $300 a month, 8% average annual return. Reasonable, realistic, based on long-term S&P 500 history. Year 1, you've put in $3,600, your account is at $3,800. $200 in growth. And if that's where you stopped looking, you'd be completely justified thinking this isn't working. Now, jump to year 30. You've contributed $108,000 total. Your account is sitting at $440,000. $330,000 you never deposited. You didn't earn it. You didn't work for it. You just didn't quit. That's the whole game. And almost all of that dramatic growth happened in the last 10 years, not the first 10. Because in year 1, 8% is applied to $3,800. In year 25, that same 8% is applied to $300,000. Same rate, completely different result. The invisible years feel invisible because the base is small. But those early dollars are compounding the longest. They are your highest leverage dollars. Let me show you what this looks like for a real person. Meet Diana. She starts investing at 25, $200 a month for 5 years. Then life happens. She stops contributing completely, never adds another dollar, just leaves the money alone for 30 more years. Her total contributions? $12,000. Her account at 60? $186,000. She turned 12,000 into 186,000 by doing almost nothing except starting early and leaving it alone. No perfect stock, no market timing, just time. Here's something most finance channels won't say directly. The math of compounding is simple. What destroys most people's results isn't a bad investment, it's their own behavior during the invisible years. The market drops, the balance looks flat. Someone you know mentions they made 30% on a stock, and suddenly your steady 8% feels like losing. So you move the money, you try something else. You interrupt a process that was already working. Now slow down with me for a second. Compounding needs one thing from you: consistency. That's it. That's the whole thing. Not perfect timing, not a finance degree, just consistency and the willingness to not interfere with something that's working even when you can't feel it working. That turns out to be the hardest part. Think about 2022. Markets dropped 20%. A lot of people pulled out, locked in the loss, waited on the sidelines. The people who kept contributing, who didn't touch their allocations, recovered fully within 18 months. The people who stopped didn't. The invisible years are only invisible from inside them. 30 years from now, looking back at a $400,000 account, you'll see those early boring years as the most important thing you ever did. The construction was happening. You just couldn't see it yet. Quick version of everything that matters. Compounding feels small early because the base is small. That's not failure, that's math. Your early years are your highest leverage years. The money you invest today, when the balance looks embarrassingly small, works harder for your future than any dollar you'll invest later. Time beats everything. More than return percentage, more than fund selection. Starting and staying consistent is the most important financial decision you can make. And the invisible years are not wasted years. They are the foundation, every single one of them. If this shifted something, sit with it. Not because you need to do something dramatic today, but because understanding why the early years feel slow might be the one thing that keeps you from quitting during them. That's worth more than any strategy I could give you. Thumbs up if this helped. Send it to someone who just started and feels like nothing is moving. Subscribe if you want more of this. Real numbers, real psychology, no shortcuts. Trust the process. Trust yourself for starting. See you in the next one.